everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Alex of Kylie Star Astrology, and this is my video for the new moon solar eclipse coming in Libra on October 14th, 2023, which will be a Saturday here in California. However, please adjust for your current location on the planet as that time and date may change. I want to go back to today though. Here we are for the chart of the moment. I am sitting here on October 12th, Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. and the moon, as you can see, has come into Libra. And I was waiting for that on purpose before doing this video because as of right now, the moon has officially entered the sign where we will have our eclipse. So today and tomorrow, and of course the next day, we are very much sinking in to the energy and the feelings of our first eclipse, of eclipse season for October. I'm sure you all are feeling the vibes, and I think that we're feeling a couple of different things. I think that we're definitely feeling the eclipse. The veils are starting to thin out, but we're also feeling Pluto station energies. So Pluto stationed direct 2 days ago on October 10th. And Pluto stations are intense. When a planet stations, which is a word that basically means changing directions, it's either stations direct or it stations retrograde. When a planet stations, we feel that planet's energy more because that planet has slowed down and its energy is sort of like flung at Earth with more intensity. So we have been shrouded in the shadow of Pluto. And I really like stations of megalithic planets for that reason, because it's an opportunity to get to know that planet's energy and to feel it more than we normally would. And so we can be using our spirit senses to feel into the ether and feel out these characters with their different energy, and we're learning to distinguish the difference between the energy of Venus, which has her sort of indulgent, graceful, delightful energy, from Saturn's dense, stern, boulder-like frequency. And in the case of Pluto, we've been feeling that energy all week. So what have we been feeling all week? Well, it's been a very intense week in the world. Pluto is the lord of death, transformation, darkness, the underworld, metamorphosis. And so it's a bit of a spooky energy. It's very intense. Pluto is where things come to pass. This is literal and symbolic death. And usually we get a little bit of both in our experience. So there are a lot of people going through it in the world, and I think we're also psychically feeling one another's process as well. And also, you know, this intensity is not always a negative thing. Death is not always a negative thing. There are people that are really feeling in their power during a Pluto station. It really just depends on what karma is moving through a person's experience, what Pluto is going to bring. We all get our turn on the wheel. Sometimes it's our time to fall and our time to grieve. Sometimes it's our Tower card moment. And other seasons, it's our season to rise. And it can be the full spectrum out there, right? So I will say that the energy of this eclipse is a little bit somber. The second eclipse, end of the month, is pretty intense. That one has some teeth. This one is heavily relationship focused, and it's about moving a lot of energy in relationships, contemplating our relationships, contemplating our next moves, and above all, choosing ourselves, even if it means going alone. And many people now and in coming months are going to choose to go alone because of the North Node in Aries, particularly because Chiron is there. So what we see, okay, so we're here on the 10th. So let's go to now. We're here on the 12th. As I said, the moon has gone into Libra. So, it's the evening here. So it's really going to be more like tomorrow. You can see tomorrow the moon comes over here. Okay, so the moon will conjunct Mercury. When is that actually going to happen? Oh, it's going to be at night. Okay, interesting. There may be some conversations that start to come in tomorrow. But really, I guess it's really more so the 14th. We'll say the 13th and the 14th. This stuff really starts to get moving with this eclipse. First thing I want to mention is that eclipses, we know they always have this wild card energy where like the veils are thin and sort of unexpected karmic things can happen. But especially with this one, because the planet Uranus here is, you can see this, making an inconjunct to our eclipse. Let's get into our eclipse here. Let's get the moon to 20. That's actually going to be 21. There we go. So there's the new moon in Libra at 21 degrees. Uranus is at 22. So that's an almost exact inconjunct. And an inconjunct is a stress aspect that the planets are like irritating one another. So Uranus is, when we're looking at his lower frequency because of the aspect, because it's a tense aspect, Uranus is destabilizing, unsettling. It's change that comes sort of like with a price tag, because it's change that is upsetting or unsettling for some reason. And it does, of course, bring in that sort of unexpected quality where we might have something come through that we weren't expecting. And this is very clearly, this eclipse is very relationship centric because of all the Libra energy in the chart. Of course, you'll want to look at where this big clusterfuck is hitting your chart. Where is 21 Libra in your chart? That's going to give you more information, but just know that your fellow humans on this planet, we are all collectively really looking at our relationships right now. We are looking at the people in our life. We are looking at the way that we allow others to treat us. We are looking at who we give our time. We are looking at where we need to place better boundaries, where we need to speak up and have the difficult conversations. That is a big kind of theme right now. And Mars back at the South Node in Scorpio adds a element of past battles that may have involved betrayal or where someone did not have our best interest at heart. Mars in Scorpio, to use kind of like an old world astrology traditional term could be like enemies from the past, you know. But the most important thing here is that this is all being released. This is past baggage, past stuff that this eclipse is bringing up to start a new cycle of release and removal. We're taking out sort of the energetic trash here. But there's likely to need to be some conversations to move this energy because Mercury is back there in Libra. But you know what? All this Libra stuff where we would have kept the peace or stayed quiet or played nice, we're really taking that out as well because we're moving over here to the North Node in Aries where we're going to be a lot less diplomatic and a lot more straightforward. And we're going to be cutting cords where they need to be cut so that we can come back into ourselves. And in some cases, not cutting cords, but redistributing boundaries, respect, and expectations within relationships in a new way. The ruler of this chart is Venus. She's here at 5 degrees Virgo. She is in opposition to Saturn. This suggests that we are taking a very critical eye at our relationships the way that a Virgo would. We're sort of combing over them in a very discerning and critiquing way. Yeah, we're ready to decide if relationships are healthy for us or not. Venus in Virgo is associated with health. A shadow aspect of Virgo, which would come to light because of the opposition from Saturn, can have to do with atonement and guilt. Venus in Virgo can sort of bring up this energy of needing to purify or detox past decisions, almost like a purgatory kind of aspect. So there may be a need for atonement in some relationships as well. I think that this is an eclipse where there could be some beautiful healing conversations, but it is really raw. This eclipse is raw because of the chironic energy with Chiron at the North Node. So it's like we're leaving a lot behind and we're ready to say goodbye to certain things, but where we're going is tender right now. It won't always be, but right now, we're in a tender place, many of us in life. It hurts to walk away. It hurts when relationships change. It hurts when we outgrow certain things. And eclipses are massive times of growth where we do quantum leap and can experience some growing pains within that. Each person on this planet is having to transform on such deep levels and has been for many, many months because of Pluto square the nodes. A lot of people have been processing anger this last week. Pluto squared Mars last week. A lot of people, it's kind of dissipating now a bit, but man, when Mars was in those final degrees of Libra, when was that? Like right around here, like the 8th, Sunday, that Mars square. Man, I felt that. This can be a real time where we look at how we have historically dealt with things and how we're suddenly like, what the hell was I thinking? I need to completely do things differently from here on out. I need to seriously advocate for myself better. I need to seriously show up for myself better. Yeah. So we are in a portal now, and it ain't over till it's over. We still got 2 more weeks of this. We've got an eclipse on the 28th, end of the month. So we are in the portal now of change and growth. And it is not just this eclipse, the 14th, the next couple days. We are in the season. So from now until the end of the month, I mean, honestly, till Saturn stations direct, we're in this. So let's look at the tarot cards for this eclipse. Not the happiest cards. So the card associated with the third decan of Libra, which is of course where our new moon is the Four of Swords. And you can see this little crow here. He looks like he's dead, but he's actually not. He's exhausted really, because this card follows the Three of Swords. So the Three of Swords is a very sad card, which is about like separation, loss, endings, potential betrayal, heartbreak, right? So the eclipse card is the card that follows that. So this crow has just been through it. He's just had his heart stabbed open, and now he's just taking a fucking minute. And you can see he's laying there next to his sword. He's in contemplation. He's in spiritual retreat, taking a step back to gain perspective. He's silent and active. He's reevaluating and clearing mental clutter to avoid burnout. It's like needing a holiday. You can see the little crows in the window that are like, I don't know, to me that kind of represents like there's people on your mind, but they're like out there, and you're kind of just taking a moment to be like, what is it that I need to be doing right now? I need to recover from this. I need to detach from stress, especially in the context of this eclipse when it is caused by other people. And this real need for self-care and seclusion, it's like a little wellness break to recharge. Okay, so then I dug a little deeper, and I went and I pulled the card for the placement of Mars in the first decan of Scorpio, because I was like, okay, well, Four of Swords makes sense, needing the spiritual retreat, this spiritual separation for contemplation. What else are we contemplating? So I looked at the card for Mars here, because Mars is there at the south node of the past. And what do we get? We get the Five of Cups card. Another like super kind of sad card, to be honest. The Five of Cups is when things did not go as you had hoped. It can be a card associated with disappointment, loss, grief, sadness, discontent, but also like it does also have like a crying over spilled milk type of vibe where you're focused on, look at the crow, he's focused on the cups that have spilled over. Even though there's 2 cups standing, he's not really concerned with those. So this is a card that really, what it really needs is acceptance so that this poor guy can move on with what he has left. And that is, I think, an important piece to this is I think that a lot of people out there are probably mourning the way a certain relationship turned out. And it's kind of like needing to cut our losses, but like in order to gain something from certain relationships, it can be about what did I learn? And I think in the case of this eclipse, a lot of people are just learning how to care for themselves better. And that can be a really beautiful thing when you have been betrayed by a person or disappointed by a person or abused by a person. You can use them as one of your greatest teachers, and you can squeeze every last drop of wisdom from that experience to let that person become a literal icon for the type of person you are so glad you are not. And yeah, it can be a good time to know what type of person we want to be and be really focused on that character development in ourselves by providing ourselves with the things that we can't necessarily get from others. That's what Aries is all about. And when we look at the card associated with the North Node in Aries to bring in a little more cheerful energy, we are looking at the Four of Wands, and the vibes are just so much better over here at the North Node. The Four of Wands is a very warm card that has a lot to do with joy and happiness and connecting with those that bring joy and happiness into your life. It can even denote some kind of celebration. And in this case, with the North Node and Chiron there, I'm really leaning on this as like a celebration of self and coming back home to ourselves. When sometimes we've lost our way or lost our self-value and self-worth because of relationships with other people. So this is a real, like, it's a reclamation energy, this whole eclipse season, and especially this chart. But there is going to be, for a lot of people out there, some lines drawn in the sand, some boundary setting, and some real metamorphosis within our interpersonal relationships. And like I've said a million times, this usually doesn't just hit one area. It's usually not just one relationship. It's usually not just your partner. It's usually a sort of wave of change that hits many of our relationships. And each person is playing their own individual role to teach you these lessons. So I'm sending you guys a lot of love and grace as you move through this chart and these times. I hope everyone is doing well out there. Thank you for joining me this evening to talk about this eclipse. If you are interested in booking a reading for me, I am taking readings at the moment. I'm putting my information up there on the screen. You can reach out to me for readings at my website, coyotestarastrology.com. If you would like to be connected on Instagram, I do tons of astrology on my Instagram, and I'm also opening up my platform there for lots of other cool topics as well. I'm there at Earth to Coyote. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a beautiful first eclipse. Bye for now, and I'll talk to you soon.